The Committee of Finance is back on the record. Next before us, we have the Law Enforcement Planning Commission. We will allow Angel Campbell. Is Angel? Angela.
Angela Lloyd Campbell.
Okay, the A was missing. Angela Lloyd.
It went somewhere.
Yes. I got scared for a minute because got scared there for a minute because it disappeared, and I looked up and I see all females. So I was like, something is wrong.
I would appreciate it back. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll have Ms. Angela Lloyd Campbell put her name and title on the record, and then those individuals that are here with her to provide questions or answers. So Ms. Campbell, you may proceed.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon. Angela Lloyd Campbell, Director, Law Enforcement Planning Commission. Sorry.
Thank you so much. Next, Ms. Simmons.
Good afternoon. Kanuma Simmons Isanison.
Anna Maria Cricky.
1 minute. And position, title.
Federal Programs Coordinator.
Okay.
Anna Maria Cricky, Grants Manager.
Okay.
Sherry Abbott, Grants Manager.
Thank you. Next one.
Avril Charles, Director of Financial Management Services.
Thank you.
Jacqueline Freeman, Grants Manager.
Okay, you may proceed, Ms. Campbell.
A most pleasant day, Chairman Honorable Kurt A. Vialet and members of the Committee on Finance, other members present of the 34th Legislature, legislative staff, and to the ladies and gentlemen joining us in the listening and viewing audience. I am Angela Lloyd Campbell, Director of the Law Enforcement Planning Commission, also known as LEPC. LEPC team members in attendance are Avril Charles, our Director of Financial Management Services, Kanuma Simmons, Federal Programs Coordinator, Anna Maria Cricky, Grants Manager for the Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant, the Prison Rape Elimination, Residential Substance Abuse Treatment, and the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding. Sherry Abbott, our Victim Services Grant Manager, and Jacqueline Freeman, Juvenile Justice Programs and Project Safe Neighborhoods Grant Manager. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before this legislative body to present the Law Enforcement Planning Commission's budget for fiscal year 2023. The Law Enforcement Planning Commission, easily referred to as LEPC, was established as an agency of the government of the Virgin Islands under Title 3, Chapter 15, Section 261. LEPC is entrusted with responsibility and empowered to effect the functions and responsibilities provided under the provisions of the Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act of 1968 and the Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act of 1974 as amended. LEPC serves as the state administrative agency for the awarding of federal funds allocated for local criminal justice agencies, nonprofit, and faith-based organizations. It is authorized to administer and monitor several U.S. Department of Justice federal grant programs that address criminal justice, juvenile delinquency, and victim services initiatives. LEPC has the statutory responsibility of providing advice and guidance to the governor and is established to be the state planning agency for the criminal justice system in the territory. This responsibility encompasses assisting with the development of policies, crime prevention, and violence reduction plans, addressing juvenile delinquency and victims of crime programs, and providing funding directed at improving the coordination, administration, and effectiveness of the criminal justice efforts in the territory. In a nutshell, LEPC bridges together local and federal resources to comprehensively reduce crime, violence, and delinquency within the territory. Our team continues to demonstrate sincere commitment in an effort to deliver quality services that improve and strengthen the criminal justice system within the scope of the allotted resources. We continue to reassess our work and delivery and seek guidance and technical assistance whenever necessary. We strive to maintain constant communications with our collaborators, our subgrantees, and partner agencies to optimize law enforcement and criminal justice efforts. We are broadening funding opportunities and moving away from the established funding of the years past. I present our budget overview. LEPC receives its operation funding through appropriations from the general fund. In addition, 4 of the 8 formula grants we receive provide funding to support partial administrative and personnel costs associated with the management of those respective grants. The general fund allotment for fiscal year 2023 is $687,480, a decrease of $97,855 compared to fiscal 2022. This reduction represents 14% of the recommended budget, which reflects the salaries of positions that were vacant at the onset of the budget call process. However, those positions have been filled. Personnel costs are submitted at $372,834 for fiscal year 2023, with associated fringe cost of $163,206. The personnel cost reflects salaries of 7 positions. The personnel or fringe benefit costs for the VOCA VAWA grant manager are the only personnel-related costs within the agency not reflected, as this position is 100% federally funded. It is our hope that this position may be absorbed by the general fund, thereby recommitting the funds for victim service programs directly. There is a budget reduction of $69,000 in personnel and $31,529.10 in fringe due to the positions being vacant, as I stated earlier, at the beginning of the budget cycle. These positions are filled. Therefore, we would like to request that a budget be approved for the entire personnel cost for those individuals. LEPC maintains 2 offices, one in the St. Thomas St. John District and one in the St. Croix District. The St. Thomas office serves as our base, with the St. Croix serving as a satellite office to host our St. Croix staff and where full staff conducts meetings with our St. Croix subgrantees and other stakeholders. We are pleased to share the addition of our Federal Programs Coordinator, who sits in the St. Croix office, which now provides a presence on the island of St. Croix. For fiscal year 2023, $20,897 has been allocated for operating supplies, small equipment, fuel, and repairs and maintenance. This is a significant contrast to last year's allotment of $507. Last year's bare-bones budget for supplies was submitted due to our hardline decision to budget for a second much-needed vehicle for the agency. Other services such as rent, communication, inter-island travel, vehicle maintenance, training, and janitorial services and utilities has been allotted a total of $130,543. LEPC utilizes allowable administrative funds from 4 grant programs to secure allowable supplies, services, and other operating costs. General fund budget summary is noted in the table below as our Exhibit 1, and also attached is the personnel cost summary included as Exhibit 2. As noted earlier, we currently are leasing 2 office spaces. The St. Thomas office is located in the Niski Shopping Center, and the St. Croix office is housed within the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs at the Golden Rock Shopping Center in St. Croix. The St. Thomas office lease agreement with St. Thomas Properties at an annual cost of $56,484 expired in May 2022. We are in the process of renewing the lease with the expectation of maintaining the annual rental cost of $56,484 for fiscal year 2023. The St. Croix office lease agreement with the Department of Licensing at an annual cost of $6,000 is open-ended. Our office rental information is also contained within as Appendix 1. In the last budget hearing, we were in the process of relocating our St. Thomas office. Since then, we remain at Niski Center location with a new address, however, as Suite 720. Our janitorial service is contracted and provided at an annual cost of $8,692, and this is also due to expire in September of 2022. Currently, we are in the bidding process as per property and procurement's procedures, and the information relative to the janitorial information is Appendix 2. Our vehicle fleet, LEPC has 1 assigned vehicle, a 2017 Chevrolet Traverse, located in the St. Thomas St. John District, to augment all the activities at the agency. This vehicle is used to attend meetings, trainings, conduct subgrantee monitoring visits, site visits, juvenile compliance, and it also doubles as the director's assigned vehicle. There is no vehicle assigned to the St. Croix office. When transportation is needed, we use loaner vehicles that are requested from the Property and Procurement Transportation Fleet. In the last budget hearing, funding was requested to purchase the second vehicle. We were unable to procure the vehicle that was budgeted for in fiscal 2022 due to the funds that LEPC allocated not being sufficient to purchase said vehicle. LEPC received an initial quote at the amount of $31,980 and requested a discount. We were able to get $980 off. Due to the limited funds in our budget, we are unable to relocate any money to cover the difference of $1,000. So efforts are ongoing to secure the second vehicle for the agency. The information related to the vehicle fleet is Appendix 3. LEPC may very well mirror the needs of LEPC may very well mirror the needs of other central governmental agencies as it relates to funding and staffing. However, because we are undeniably such a small agency, the needs are magnified and therefore at a critical level. We are currently a staff of 7 doing the work of staff twice its size. A significant boost to the fiscal 2023 budget would allow LEPC to maintain our grant manager and secure 3 much-needed positions. LEPC will be able to reestablish the necessary financial specialist position, which was removed from our fiscal 2021 budget. At present, our office is operating with a fiscal staff of 1 strong, but we cannot continue to function in this manner. It is not in the best interest of the current employee nor the agency to work under these conditions for an extended period without expecting an adverse effect. LEPC would also be able to transfer our VOCA grant manager to the general fund, thus providing job security to a very reliable and dedicated employee. Additionally, we would be able to establish program monitors who will provide support to our grant managers in the management and monitoring of the federal grant programs. Currently, each of our grant managers are responsible for 2 or more grants. As a state administrative agency, these positions are indeed critical in the management of the federal dollars entrusted to the agency. Apart from providing essential staffing positions, funding will ensure LEPC's ability to meet some of its basic operating costs and to put to rest the robbing Peter to pay Paul cycle. This current year, LEPC experienced challenges meeting some operational costs, which affected basic needs such as inter-island travel, maintenance, repairs, and incidentals. For those that are familiar with LEPC, we are best described as a funding source for community programs, and we are pleased to be that resource to ensure that much-needed support is available for criminal justice, crime prevention, juvenile delinquency, and victim service programs. But we must clarify that the support from this office does not come in the form of sponsorship, but as reimbursable grant awards. Programs that have been approved for funding must submit to an application process and meet certain criteria and be responsive to the scope of the federal programs. As the state administrative agency on behalf of the territory, LEPC is awarded federal formula grants from the U.S. Department of Justice, which support crime reduction initiatives, juvenile delinquency, crime prevention, and victim service programs. Formula grants are federal grants where the enacting legislation specifies how those grants are to be distributed. Therefore, they are not competitive, with allocations primarily awarded based on the territory's population. Currently, we are managing 8 formula grants. They are the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding, the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG, the Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Title II Grant, JJDP, Prison Rape Elimination Act, known as PREA, Project Safe Neighborhoods, PSN, Residential Substance Abuse Treatment Grant, RSAT, Victims of Crime Assistance Grant, VOCA, and the Violence Against Women Stop Grant on the VAWA. The agency was awarded $2,265,604 for fiscal year 2021. And for fiscal 2022, we are anticipating receiving approximately $2.5 million. The Corona Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act provided the territory with $2,932,867 through the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding, the CESF grant. This grant assists with preventing, preparing for, and responding to the coronavirus pandemic. Allowable projects and purchases under this grant include, but are not limited to, overtime equipment, including law enforcement and medical personnel protective equipment, hiring, supplies, training, travel expenses, and addressing the medical needs of inmates in state, local, tribal prisons, jails, and detention centers. LEPC distributed personal protective equipment to 22 projects under the CSF funding for the St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix districts due to the COVID-19 pandemic. These projects afforded governmental agencies and nonprofit organizations to obtain personal protective equipment for their first responders and service providers, such as surgical masks, KN95 masks, gloves, coveralls, face shields, and sanitizers. In addition to the PPE subawards, the CSF grant also supported major projects to address the response to COVID-19. In fiscal 2021, the Virgin Islands Superior Court project installed thermal screening stations throughout its territorial facilities. During fiscal 2022, the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, Division of Environmental Enforcement, was awarded $321,832 to secure equipment for their Marine Patrol and Enforcement project. The Justice Assistance Grant, JAG, is a federal criminal justice funding which provides support to a broad range of activities geared at increasing law enforcement efforts to preventing and controlling crime through hiring of additional personnel, equipment, supplies, contractual support, training, technical assistance, and informational systems for criminal justice. In the Virgin Islands, agencies such as the Department of Justice, the Police Department, and the Bureau of Corrections have been recipients of this ideal funding and supported several projects such as training, acquiring technical assistance, hiring of personnel, and the purchase of routine and specialized law enforcement equipment. In fiscal 2021, LEPC awarded $211,041 of JAG funds to governmental agencies. And to date, for fiscal 2022, approximately $364,027 has been awarded to support governmental, enforcement, and crime prevention efforts to the Office of the Governor's Security Unit, Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, and the Bureau of Corrections. BURN-JAG funding also supports the implementation and enhancement of juvenile and after-school programs aimed at reducing and addressing juvenile delinquency and providing healthier alternatives to at-risk youths in the Virgin Islands. During the height of the coronavirus pandemic, funding awards for juvenile and after-school programs were suspended for a season. Once we resumed, we worked with our service providers to ensure that they were providing programs in adherence with the established COVID protocols in the territory. In fiscal 2021, we awarded 8 awards totaling $220,000 for youth enrichment and juvenile justice program. And thus far, for fiscal 2022, 4 programs have been awarded in the amount of $139,992. Our recipients are the Boys and Girls Club of St. John and St. Thomas, the Virgin Islands Resource Center for the Disabled, and My Brother's Workshop. Our Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention Title II program supports the development of initiatives that address juvenile delinquency and efforts to improve the juvenile system in the territory. This grant requires the establishment of a Juvenile Justice State Advisory Group, SAG, it's also known as Board, whose primary function is to review the state of the juvenile justice system and advise the governor and the legislature and key stakeholders with recommendations. The Juvenile Justice SAG Board is allotted 5% of the JJDP funds to support those efforts. In addition to implementing youth-centered programs, LEPC is also tasked with monitoring of jails, detention facilities, and other facilities to ensure compliance with the 4 core requirements of the Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention Act. The first core requirement is referred to as the deinstitutionalization of status offenders, also known as DSO. And per JJDP's Act, DSO requires that status offenders are not held in secure detention or confinement. The second core requirement is the separation of juveniles from adults in institutions. And it requires that when youths are detained or confined for any length of time, both sight and sound contact with adult inmates are prohibited. The third core requirement is the removal of juveniles from adult jails and lockups. And as per the JJDP Act, youth may not be detained in adult jails or lockups. The fourth core requirement is the reduction of racial and ethnic disparities, also referred to as RED or RED. For this requirement, states and territories are required to assess and address the racial and ethnic disparities, formerly known as the disproportionate minority contact, at key points in the juvenile justice system, from arrest to detention to confinement. The Virgin Islands is in compliance with 3 of the core requirements: DSO, jail removal, and RED. We were out of compliance with the separation requirement because juveniles were in sight and sound of an adult detainee. Currently, however, compliance concerns were addressed, and the Virgin Islands is in compliance with the core requirements. The JJDP Act was substantially amended and became the Juvenile Justice Reform Act in 2019. In part, the new rule requires changes in the structure of the State Advisory Board, in addition to close monitoring of the now stringent requirements for detaining juvenile offenders who have violated a court order. We are pleased to note that the Virgin Islands Justice Assistance State Advisory Group boasts a full complement of members that satisfies the JJDP requirements. The VI SAG board has 17 members and they meet regularly. Working groups within the board have been formed to address key areas such as compliance monitoring, racial and ethnic disparities, restorative justice, the 3-year plan, and outreach efforts. The SAG board continues to receive ongoing technical assistance and training from the U.S. Department of Justice. The SAG board, after identifying areas that needed to be addressed from the OJGP standpoint, formed several committees to brainstorm and address those areas immediately. These concerns included restorative justice and racial and ethnic disparities. Through these efforts, meetings were held and best practices were identified that are used throughout the nation. In addition, a RED plan is currently being developed for the territory. The Prison Rape Elimination Act. The goal and objective of the Prison Rape Elimination Act grant program is to eradicate prisoner rape of all types in the Virgin Islands correctional facilities and to provide staffing, training, and education to inmates. With PRIA funding, the VI Bureau of Corrections has provided training to staff and management in combating sexual abuse in the local facilities. PRIA also encourages the development of policies and procedures on safety and zero tolerance regarding sexual abuse and sexual harassment and education. LEPC is preparing to award the Virgin Islands Bureau of Corrections in the amount of $30,530 to support PRIA-related trainings and assessments. Our Project Safe Neighborhoods. This program is a nationwide initiative that brings together federal, state, local enforcement officials, prosecutors, community leaders, and other stakeholders to identify the most pressing violent crime problems in a community and to afford the opportunity to develop comprehensive solutions to address them. PSN is on a new charge of fostering trust and legitimacy in our communities, supporting community-based organizations that help prevent violence from occurring in the first place, and setting focused and strategic enforcement priorities and measuring the results of those efforts. In the territory, PSN is a collaborative effort between the U.S. Attorney's Office, the PSN Board, and LEPC. This program, coordinated by the U.S. Attorney's Office and This program is coordinated by the U.S. Attorney's Office, and LEPC functions as the fiscal agent. In the Virgin Islands, the PSN board is comprised of federal and local partners, housing communities, businesses, youth organizations, and other stakeholders, along with LEPC. This board meets regularly to discuss potential projects and initiatives. Locally, the program has partnered with other community programs and conducted awareness and crime prevention activities. PSN continues to work with all stakeholders as they provide services to the residents within the housing and other communities. They are known for meeting with residents in their communities to address issues facing them on a day-to-day basis. These concerns are then brought to the appropriate agencies for resolution. We recently submitted our fiscal 2022 PSN solicitation and anticipate an award later in this year. The Residential Substance Abuse Treatment Grant for state prisoners programs and states and local governments. And local governments in the development and implementation of residential substance abuse treatment programs within correctional and detention facilities. The goal and objective of the RSAT program is to break the cycle of drugs and violence in prison systems, thereby reducing the demand for, use, and trafficking of illegal drugs, resulting in the reduction in the rate of recidivism. The RSAT program provides residential substance abuse treatment for incarcerated inmates. Individuals are prepared for their reintegration into their communities by incorporating reentry planning activities into the treatment programs. Again, we are in the process of issuing a pending award to our Bureau of Corrections for a substance abuse reentry program in the amount of $99,894. Our victim service grants. Victims of Crime Assistance and Violence Against Women STOP grants support direct services and programs which assist individuals whose lives had been impacted by crime. Victim services in the territory are primarily provided by nonprofit organizations, and most of these organizations, in large part, rely on the VAWA and VOCA awards to support their operations. Although both the VOCA and VAWA programs support direct services, it must be noted that the Victims of Crime funds are more general in nature and therefore serve all victims of crime. The Violence Against Women funds received in the territory are particularly concerned with specific crimes that are committed, such as domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. Based on the trend of the past 3 years, we anticipate receiving approximately $1.4 million annually between both grants. The Victims of Crime grant is awarded to the territory from the Office of Victims of Crime, and this funding comes from the Crime Victim Fund, which was established by the VOCA Act to support victim services and training for advocates and professionals. Crime Victim Fund dollars are derived from criminal fines, forfeited bail bonds, penalties, and special assessments collected by federal courts, the U.S. Attorney's offices, and the Federal Bureau of Prisons from offenders convicted of federal crimes. The VOCA funding supports direct services, and in the territory in fiscal 2021, a total of $944,108.59 were awarded to 4 local programs. Thus far, for fiscal 2022, a total of $1,044.71 actively support 4 local programs: the Family Resource Center, Legal Services of the Virgin Islands, the Women's Coalition of St. Croix, and the Virgin Islands Advocate for Children. To date, VOCA programs have served 1,547 individuals compared to 2,012 individuals in fiscal 2021. Most recently, an attorney from the Legal Services of the Virgin Islands attended and participated in the 2022 International Conference on Sexual Assault, Domestic Violence, and Reimagining Justice in San Francisco, California, which was sponsored by the End Violence Against Women International in April 2022. This training event was made possible through VOCA funds. The funding supported training on sexual assault, intimate partner violence, stalking, human trafficking, and elder abuse. The conference highlighted promising practices and emerging issues to effectively respond to these crimes. Our VAWA Stop funds in the territory are awarded through the Office on Violence Against Women, which is a component of the U.S. Department of Justice. VAWA Stop funds are awarded to develop and to strengthen the criminal justice system's response to violence against women and to support and enhance services for victims. Fiscal 2021 awards totaling $524,453 supported nonprofit programs and governmental agencies to address victim service needs, provide training opportunities. For fiscal 2022, we have awarded VAWA Stop funds totaling $510,470 to support 6 programs. 3 local programs to provide direct services to victims, 2 batterer intervention programs, and 1 program to provide training to law enforcement. The recipients of those funds are Family Resource Center, the Family Resource Center's Men Terminating Violence Group, Legal Services of the Virgin Islands, Men's Coalition of the Virgin Islands, Women's Coalition of St. Croix, and the Virgin Islands Police Department. To date, the VAWA program has served 123 individuals compared to 240 individuals in fiscal 2021. Most recently, Legal Services of the Virgin Islands attorneys and members of the VI Police Department's Domestic Violence Unit, as well as victim advocates, attended and participated in the 17th Annual Conference on Crimes Against Women in Dallas, Texas. This training event was made possible through the VAWA Stop funds, providing training on investigating crimes against women, such as domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and strangulation. It focused also on a community-coordinated response. The Law Enforcement Planning Commission has completed and submitted the Violence Against Women Stop Formula Grant Implementation Plan for 2022 to 2025 in June of this year. This plan, which is designed as a 4-year plan covering fiscal years 2022 to 2025, was developed through the input gathered from private, nonprofit victim service programs, law enforcement, prosecutorial personnel, court, and other participating stakeholders. The overall goals of the plan are to enhance services in the territory within our victim service providers and partner agencies, as well as training opportunities to improve our criminal justice system's response to the VAWA-related crimes. LEPC is awaiting approval of this plan from the Office on Violence Against Women. Our VOCA and VAWA funds have made it possible for victims of crime, particularly domestic violence and sexual assault victims, to seek shelter and needed services as a direct result of their victimizations. While significant awards have been made to support the work of victim service providers, we continue to seek organizations willing to provide court-ordered diversion or similar programs that meet the VAWA and VOCA requirements. Unfortunately, significant amounts of VAWA and VOCA funds go unexpended due in part to strict and narrow guidelines, but mostly due to a lack of eligible programs in the territory. LEPC recently released requests for proposals under the VAWA and the VOCA Assistance Program and received 10 responses. The review is in process, with potential awards being made in September for the upcoming fiscal year of 2023. A list of our active grants is also included as Appendix 4. LEPC is recognized for its community support and involvement. We collaborate with service providers, the local law enforcement entities, other stakeholders within the criminal justice arena, and those that lend to the work that must be ongoing for ultimately safer communities. The collection of data and statistical information is of great significance, not only to LEPC, but to the entire community, as we have either been directly or indirectly by some level of crime. Access to statistical information is a critical component in the submission of grant awards that could increase funding opportunities. Likewise, crime analysis has become an essential tool in the criminal justice efforts to enhance public safety, identify emerging trends, and plan crime prevention strategies. There is no central repository or clearinghouse for criminal data here in the territory, and presently one must contact an array of agencies and entities to obtain necessary data. LEPC understands the importance of collaboration and information sharing between stakeholders. We took the lead in applying for a 3-year competitive grant to secure a statistical analysis center to serve as this criminal justice state repository. We are hoping in the future that LEPC can house such a center, a statistical analysis center. As I close, I would like to take this opportunity to publicly thank the LEPC team for their support and dedication to this agency. LEPC's success is directly attributed to their tireless efforts and resourcefulness, positive attitudes, and willingness to go the extra mile and stay the course. Their commitment to this agency and indirectly to the government of the Virgin Islands and our community as a whole is unparalleled. Senators, the Law Enforcement Planning Commission is a small agency that provides unsurpassed support within the community through funded projects and programs. We are here and will continue its efforts to improve public safety in the territory by supporting worthwhile projects and programs. Supporting programs, serving our communities, making a difference. I thank you for the opportunity to have appeared before you today, and my team and I are available to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Colleagues, we are going to go directly into a round of questioning. We'll begin with a 5-minute round, starting with Senator Blyden. Senator Blyden, you recognize.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
To Director,
Yes, Senator.
Ms. Campbell.
Go ahead, Campbell.
Good afternoon to you and your supporting team there, and thank you so much for that pretty good testimony. Let me ask you, before I go any place, the Appendix 4 with the different federal grants, the last column that says total, that's the amount awarded for all of those different categories when it comes to those grants?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You said Appendix 4?
The Appendix 4, the total, that's the amount awarded for each of the different grantees?
No, sir. That indicates the amount that we were awarded. That's the awarded amount to the territory.
Okay. So my question is, for instance, for the Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program, do we know how much of those funds have been expended thus far?
Certainly, sir.
And then also give me the same amount for the Edward Bryan Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, the JAG grant. How much have been awarded thus far? How much has been expended thus far?
Okay, Ms. Charles will answer that for you.
I want to go down the list because I want to assure that we are using those funds and assure that not a penny goes back to the federal government, because I know and realize that the $14 million that you have gotten in federal funds it goes far to assist our people here in the territory, and I appreciate the work that LEPC does in the communities. I just want to assure that these funds are being utilized.
Okay, so to answer your question, in regards to the CSF funds, which is the coronavirus funds, we have expended to date $2,383,825.
Okay, very well. The JAG grant?
So the JAG grant, there are several JAG grants. We have expended $655,766 of our 2016 JAG, $367,621 of the 2017 JAG, $116,463 of the 2019 grant.
Question, with these different year grants, what's the expiration date?
If they're presently
2 minutes.
This year and
Because they have different years, different granting amounts, or the different expiration date, etc.? How does it work? Because I want to.
So we do have some that may be expiring in September,
That's my
as well as
question.
some are expiring next year.
And do we have any of those funds in jeopardy? Any one of them?
I do believe that the one that is expiring this year, an extension has already been extended to be able to expend those funds further.
And you see that the one that's expiring this year, which month? The end of the year?
Those will be expiring in September.
Okay, and you have an extra extension for how,
Yes, that's what I just said. I'm sorry.
until which year?
So typically we will ask for a 12-month extension. That does not always mean that we will get the 12 months.
And what is that program in reference to those funds for?
The JAG program are those criminal justice funds.
Okay. What the challenge with it, with us being able to extend those funds? What challenge do you have, or do you have any challenges?
I think, Senator, primarily our challenges oftentimes lie in the available programs at times. We also have programs that are not able to meet our reimbursement process. A lot of our nonprofits have difficulty with that. And we're a small jurisdiction, so we are working within some of those limitations.
Have you heard of Victims United? Have you done work with them before?
I'm sorry?
Victims United.
I believe we have, yes, sir.
Because I don't see the name nowhere here, and I know that do a lot of what you're doing in terms of services.
They're not a current recipient at this moment.
No? Have you? They are not at this moment. Have you reached out to them?
We have provided information relative to available funding. They have not replied.
Okay, very well. In respect to the postal report, I saw that there was a $71,000 variance in terms of the personnel service. 2022 budget showed $443,000, but then 2023 is $372,000, which is $71,000 less. Why is that? Do you have a vacancy available or something like that?
Time.
Can someone speak to that,
So,
please?
At the time that the documents were
Speaking to the mic. Speaking to the mic, and list your name. State your name before you speak, please.
April Charles, Director of Financial Management Services. So at the time that the documents were submitted to OMB, these positions were vacant.
So it's still
They're now
vacant?
filled.
Is it still vacant? Or have
No,
they been
it's
filled?
not. They're now filled.
Good to know. Thank you so much. I appreciate your responses. Mr. Chair, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Blyden. You said you have received, well, you submitted for an extension. Have you received an extension in writing?
That process is still, that's still in process.
But
We have
they-
not received a response to that extension request as yet.
Okay, and the end date is when? September?
The end date would be September of 2022.
September 30th or September 1st?
Yes, I'm sorry. Ending of the September. Yes, September 30th.
Okay. And the 2018 JAG grant, that expires when? 23?
I'll allow Mrs. Creaky to respond.
Good afternoon, Senator. This is Anna Creaky, Grants Manager. That grant ends September 30 of 2022 also. And an extension is requested.
So the 2017 and 2018 expiration date is 9/30/22.
Yes, correct.
Okay. The VOCA grant, 2018 VOCA grant.
I believe we have an extension received on that grant already. Senator, allow me, or Mrs.
We have it
Abbott.
in- we have it in writing?
handy?
Good afternoon, Senator. I'm Sherry Abbott. I'm the grant manager for the VOCA and VAWA awards. The 2018 VOCA was extended last year to September 30, 2022. There's no additional extension for that one.
Oh, and what's the amount left in that account?
The VOCA.
$106,675.
And the one right underneath, the VAWA?
2018.
What's the expiration date for the one?
The VAWA 2018, sir?
Yes.
The VAWA 2018 was extended to December 30 of this year.
What's the balance?
$189,313.
What's the difficulty in spending the monies with your sub-grantees? What are the difficulties?
Well, as I stated earlier, relative to our nonprofits, the awarding is on a reimbursable basis. So oftentimes,
They don't have the
our
money in
smaller
front.
programs do not meet that. They're unable, based on their operating cost.
Okay. Senator DeGraff, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, testifiers.
Good
All
afternoon,
of you
Senator.
listen and present. How many employees do you have?
There are 7 of us, sir.
7? You lost employees?
I'm sorry?
You lost employees?
We had some departures in 2021.
How
We had some
many?
departures after the hurricane. We had departures in 2019.
So you're down to 7.
We're down to
The
7.
magnificent 7.
We're back up to the magnificent
You're back
7
up.
because we were
Okay.
at 6.
Okay, so have any of you received wage increases in the 22 fiscal year or before?
In 20,
You're all exempt
Yes.
employees, correct?
yes.
Okay, and have any of you received wage increases?
Just, I think that was 2019. In 2019, yes.
2019. Okay, so going forward, in the 23 budget, they don't have anything for wage increases for your employees.
Well, we're hoping that will change, sir.
Because I'm saying you don't budget it, you actually took a cut. Your numbers gone way down.
Well, the numbers you're referencing was on account of the vacant positions that were at the beginning of the cycle. Are you referencing the cut that I mentioned?
Well, from what you're asking for 22 to what you're asking for 23 is a cut.
Yes, but we're
And it's
also
based on
asking
your
to be
vacancies, you
reinstated.
said?
Yeah, but we're asking for that to be reinstated.
1 minute.
Oh, okay.
Try not to talk at the same time because the
Okay.
recorder can't capture the information.
I'm sorry.
And the recorder is virtually, so speak up when you're answering the question.
I apologize. Sorry.
Yeah, like I said, I'm seeing a reduction. I'm seeing a reduction in general fund recommendation of 687, 479 to last year from 785, 335. Both personnel and fringe went down in your accent.
So at the beginning of the process, we had 2 vacant positions, and they weren't filled. So now that they are filled, we will be asking for that to be reinstated. You're reflecting that loss there.
So in the beginning, you had 2 vacancies, meaning you had 5 employees. Now you have the 2 vacancies filled, you have
We have to
7.
fill. Yes.
Okay, so are they budgeted in the 23?
They're budgeted in the 23. However, they're not budgeted at the full amount. We are asking for that to be reinstated.
No, see, I'm missing because if you brought on 2 people, you'd have to bring them on the full amount. So now in the 23 budget, they're not budgeted at the full amount. That's what get me off. How does that work? Because then how you going to pay them?
So we are addressing that, Senator. At the beginning of the budget call process, those positions were vacant and they were filled during the process. So we are now working on having those positions
2 minutes.
addressed. Those 2 positions that you're referencing.
So they are funded 50%?
That's what was great.
That was what was recommended after the budget call process was initiated.
For
If
22?
they didn't if you didn't fill the positions by a certain time frame, so they would have been subject to that. They're now filled, so we are working our way back to get those positions refilled. I mean,
No, I got what you're saying. You know, I'm just saying going forward, to me, it don't seem like you increase to cover those 2 positions. It seemed like you decreased in regards to what you originally had.
So we will.
Let me hold your time.
Please.
Just
Straighten me
1
out.
minute.
Straighten me out, please.
What is in front of us is what was sent down by the Office of Management and Budget.
Right.
They budgeted all vacant positions at 50%.
Correct.
But since they made that decision, they went ahead and hired two individuals, filled two vacancies for this fiscal year. So their request now is that we fund those positions at 100%, that we reinstate the monies that was taken out for those two positions. They want us to put it back into the budget.
No, I got that, but the numbers in the post-audit report is saying where in the 23 budget.
Right, but
Okay,
now
so
we
even for back March.
need to correct that.
Okay. Again, I want to make sure the employees are taken care of. That's number one.
And we appreciate that. Thank you.
Now, where is LEPC located?
We are still at the Niski Center.
Okay.
We just moved down the hall from our previous location last year.
Okay. Is there still an outstanding note for the Island Laundry place
No,
we were?
we are pleased to say that that has been taken care of.
Taken care of fully. Good. Okay, so your facility that you work out of, how is that? I don't think you had capital outlays to address that. I don't think you had. Are there any needs of anything to make the work environment for your employees the best it could be?
I think right now at this moment, our offices are comfortable. There are some AC issues sometimes. Of course, that's at the landlord's level. But in terms of the office space, it's comfortable for the staff.
Okay, good. That all that's covered. So right now, going forward for the amount of grants and things that you are addressing, and you ramped up 2 individuals, mean you're going to ramp up and going for more grants. Is the intention to fill more vacancies, or you've meet your quotas as it stands? Because to me, your numbers are down still.
Well, as I stated in our testimony, we certainly would need additional staffing. We have the program managers that are here are managing more than one grant, each of them. And there is a level of support that is needed to make sure that those grants are addressed, that we are in adherence with all of our guidelines, making sure that we are monitoring properly, and additional staff will assist with that. In addition, a financial specialist would also be of assistance. Right now, we just have one person handling the finances.
So how many more vacancies do you have?
We have one vacant, but
and you just name about 6 positions. That's what I'm saying.
We need to double.
We are a budget here, so I'm trying to get you to say, because
Time.
you just to wrap up, Mr. Chair, you've said a lot in what we're trying to accomplish, but you have one vacancy. So then, do you need more personnel to address those positions? Which is yes.
Yes.
So then you have to look at how much more vacancies are you talking
Well, as I
about?
stated, we definitely would be happy with 3 more positions.
Okay.
A
Funded.
financial specialist and 2 program monitors.
Funded 100%.
Most definitely.
Okay, no, I just making sure you come to. I try and get it out to you, and I could see your staff say
to
it.
repeat it, because
But-
I have it in here.
No, but that's the idea, to repeat it, to make sure all of my colleagues hear it, so when it come to, we could address it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator DeGraff. Which 2 positions have been filled? The 2 grants manager position? Which 2 positions did you fill this fiscal year?
We filled the federal programs coordinator position,
Okay, so that's those
and
0.5. So you need
our director of
financial management
services.
service.
Yes,
So right there alone, you need an additional 69,000.
69,000, and I believe 31,000 in fringe. I believe.
Okay,
I
so
think we
69,000 in personnel, and then we'll just find 46% of that. That's usually the fringe. So your next 2 position that you have here, the 2 grant manager position, they're both not filled.
What are you referencing?
Look at page
sir?
9 of of the post-audit report.
Post audit.
So we're not sure where that came from. That's the one.
Page 9.
So
Okay, let me just go from the top quickly. The director is filled. The financial specialist is filled.
no,
That's vacant.
that's vacant.
But they funded that at 100%.
Because it was filled at the time that we
It was filled at the
provided
time.
document.
Okay. The 2 grants manager under that, are they filled?
Those are filled, yes.
The executive assistant to the director?
Also filled.
The financial management service director, you just hired that.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to increase that to 68,000. Correct?
Yes.
69.
68.
68? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
The federal programs coordinator, that is now filled.
Yes.
So we need to increase that to 70.
Yes.
Speak into the mic.
Yes.
Okay. Under the federal funds, the 2 grant managers position, are they filled?
It's actually should just be 1 grant manager. I'm not sure.
They just 1.
Yes.
Okay, so we just combine that and that will take care of the salary. Okay, there's 2 positions at 50%, so that's 1 position if it's only 1. The salary is 50,000?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so there's sufficient monies there. Okay, so you are short $69,000 plus fringe.
Yes. That's correct.
Yeah, but it's included in the budget for the one under the federal grants. It's included there. So they just need for their budget for personnel services to be restored, correct?
That's correct, Senator.
And also restored for fringe.
Yes.
Okay. Senator Francis, you recognize.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon to Director Campbell and her supporting cast from LEPC. Director Campbell, how long have you been appointed to the position as director?
I've been appointed since February of this year.
February of this year. Okay, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So I know that there were some challenges that the previous director had discussed with this body in respect to some compliance issue, and the fact that some of your grants had been put on hold, consequential to those compliance issues. Have all of those issues been resolved?
Senator, if I'm understanding your question, the compliance issues you may be referring to are related to the audit, and those definitely have been resolved.
Okay, so there's no longer any restrictions, any hold on any of the grants that's coming to LEPC?
Not at this time. No, Senator.
Okay, so you're clear to receive all of your grants. In your testimony, you made reference to the issue of status offenders being housed with the criminal offenders. Have that situation been addressed?
Senator, that's an ongoing concern for us, and I will allow our compliance monitor to respond to that.
Good day, Jacqueline Freeman, Compliance Monitor. Senator, in reference to what you asked, we will, to some extent, continue to experience issues in that area because of the structure of our buildings. When we're talking about the police station in St. John, and also the location here at Zone A, where our youths, if held, have to go through the same doors as our adults. In St. John, they only, based on how their building is structured, they are experiencing the same problem. So it's an ongoing situation that we are working with the leadership of VIPD to get those things rectified.
So, Ms. Freeman, you know, those are age-old issues, have been around for quite some time. Is there a timeline by which we intend to address that? I think also over at the YRC is similarly faced with the very same issue. Is there a timeline by which we must be in compliance with that situation?
2 minutes.
For federal partners, it's pretty much like now. They it have been going on for too long, and we just need to address it and come into compliance.
Okay, I guess we'll talk a little bit offline more about that, but I know that that's a matter that really needs to be addressed. Director Campbell, who handles your Impress Fund, and what was the original amount in that Impress Fund?
The Impress Fund, we're still having some issues relative to that. We don't have access to an Impress Fund at this time. There were some issues relative to the signage. And so we are seeking, we'll have sought guidance from the Department of Finance, and we are working through that to address that.
Okay, and what's the original amount that goes into the Impress Fund?
I'm afraid I don't have that amount, Senator. Hold on one second. We'll have to provide that to you, please.
Very well, thank you. And my final question on this particular round is in regards to indirect costs based on the grants that you're administering. What is the total or the aggregate amount of indirect costs LEPC benefits from your grant administrative oversight?
We don't have. The indirect cost is not applied to any of our grants, Senator.
None whatsoever?
No, sir.
You make money, no money comes for administrative responsibility and oversight of these grants?
That is contained within the administrative portions of the grant, not the indirect cost.
Okay, how much is the administrative cost?
So administrative costs will depend on the grants. Some grants allot up to 10%, some allot up to 5%. We have one grant that does not allot any admin cost.
Time.
Very well. Thank you for your responses. My time has been called. I appreciate your response. Thank you very much. And again, good luck and the new assignment. And we stand in support of getting the LEPC up and running. One quick question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
In regards to LEPC, quickly.
That sounds like a payback, Senator Francis. That's slip of the tongue. I told you I was sorry for this morning.
Sorry, no, I thought I saw somebody else in the chair. No worries. I just wanted to ask, what is the conversation? What is being done with the Office of Gun Violence and LEPC? Can you speak to what is the collaboration? What is the synergy with the Office of Gun Violence?
The Law Enforcement Planning Commission is a partner agency with the Office on Gun Violence, as it was instituted within the act that was passed by this body. We are working with that office. We've attended meetings, and we are in efforts to collaborate on all the issues and initiatives relative to that office.
What does that mean in English, Director Campbell?
We are on board, Senator.
Thank you. Sound a little bit political, but I'll drill down a little bit more.
Thank you, Senator Francis. I think we're just trying to find out if anything is moving in the right direction in reference to the Office of Gun Violence. We are spending in excess of $200,000, and we want to know exactly what is going on. Are there any initiatives coming up? Exactly what is happening in reference to those extra monies that we're putting out? What level of discussion are you guys having? Just structural, to the point of implementation?
There are plans, but I think the best office that would be able to answer that would be the Office on Gun Violence, Senator.
Okay. And you have been in this particular position for how long?
From February of this year.
And from February to now, they can't work out a signatory on a check? What's the issue there?
I missed that question. I'm sorry, Senator.
From February to now, they're still having issues working out the Impress account to change over signatures?
Oh, you're referencing the Impress, and you just threw me. I'm sorry.
No, Impress account. What's the issue? The last time I asked a question about the Impress account. Why hasn't...
we have been asking for guidance. We've asked for guidance, and we just need to just be able to follow through on that. We've just had some issues with trying to understand the signage. There have been issues between our on the two different administrations relative to the account, and so it just has not been accessible.
So you have had discussion with the bank?
I believe finance has. I'm sorry, I'm not clear on that.
Further inquiry,
We'll-
Senator Sorrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question, Director, for the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. What is your role? I know you asked us to ask the Director of Gun Violence Prevention, but what's the role that LEPC plays? Is it just the financial portion of it? Grant
Actually,
support?
we do not, unless they're applying for any grants. But at this point, we are a partner agency.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. I'll just end. So what has been the response from finance in reference to your inquiry?
I'll have to get back to you on that, Senator, because I have not had any direct conversations. I know that our office has, and we've been making we've made some calls to have that addressed, and we have not at this point. We'll just have to follow through.
Okay, I'm calling on the Department of Finance to resolve this issue. That's from February to now. The issue needs to be resolved. We just can't have things that just stand unresolved that are really not hard issues. That's not such a difficult issue to transfer signatures from one to the next. The signature should be in the director. No, who's a financial person?
I am
So what is the amount? You should know that. How long you been in the position?
from January.
Oh, you have a whole new crew. So you have never been able to access how much is in that account?
No, I have not. So presently, though, there's $264.18 in the account.
Okay. I guess you need a signature. $284, you said?
$264.
Okay.
We're trying to get petty cash through finance to fund that account.
Okay. Senator Joseph, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and a pleasant good day to the testifiers and, of course, our listening and viewing audience. I do have some follow-up questions from the previous speaker. I want to focus on your administrative costs associated with the implementation of your grants. What expenses are absorbed by your administrative costs?
So administrative costs may absorb our operation costs that are allowable under the respective grants. Some grants do allow some personnel cost as well.
And that's what I'm getting to. How much of your grant is any of the administrative cost being used to absorb personnel or fringe benefits?
Yes, two of our grants are.
Okay, identify which grants and at what amount.
It's the VOCA grant, or Victims of Crime grant, and the Violence Against Women grant.
Okay, and for the VOCA, how much of that is used for administrative costs?
So the position position that's paid is a grant manager's position, and it's split between those two grants. So it's the split of $50,000 and the associated fringe cost.
Okay, and so you're saying that $50,000 for VOCA and then another $50,000.
No, the salary is $50,000, and it's split between the two grants.
Split 50-50.
Yes, split 50-50
each. Okay,
and the associated fringe.
Okay, and the associated fringe. Now, is there any type of match or in kind in any of those grants?
No,
none of your grants.
No, we're exempt.
Okay, you're exempt. Very good. And these positions, this position, the grants manager position for VOCA and VAWA, I hope I'm pronouncing that acronym correctly, that isn't being paid out of the general fund. No portion of it.
No,
none. Okay. And do any of your grants also for the administrative costs cover any portions of your rent for the facilities?
No, Senator.
Okay, great. My next question is relative to, and it's just a follow-up on the previous questions. How many monies do you have in jeopardy of not being able to expend for the grant performance period? I will need to look at that, and to also ask if you are, what are your marketing strategies? Because we have a lot of organizations who are 501c3 who may be eligible to participate, but they don't know. So it would be
2
great
minutes.
to know if you have eligibility listing. What are you doing to market the opportunity to entities to participate? Do you have a website?
Well, we are pleased to say that we do.
Okay.
It's freshly off the mint, but we have a website, and which will certainly be able to provide the presence of LEPC to our community and allow them to access the information as well as funding opportunities.
And the grant is available on your website now. The grant applications?
Grant information is available, as well as the funding opportunities when they are announced.
Okay. And the funding opportunities, so we're clear, we're speaking English, layman terms, is the grant application, correct?
Grant opportunities.
Okay, so you call it grant opportunities. Is there an application
There's
process?
an application process that they will be submitting to as well.
Okay, and so your application, just being direct, your application is also available on your website. And your eligibility and who will be eligible to apply is all on the website.
That information is on the website, Senator.
Okay, great. All right, so again, going back to my other question about how much monies are available. I do know you got some additional monies for your PAL that was awarded. So congratulations to you and your team for working on those grants. Now, let me just take it step by step. Let's look at we talked about your burn. Let's look at the residential substance abuse treatment and state prisoners grant. Do you have any, and I'm looking at page 7 of 9 of the post-audit report. Do you have any grants before 2019 that have not been fully expended, grant funds?
You're speaking specifically to the PREA?
To the RSAT.
Okay. Mrs. Creaky, could you respond to that?
Time.
What page are you referring to, Senator? I'm sorry.
Page 7 of 9 of the
Post-audit.
of the post-audit report, page 7 of 9.
Good afternoon. This is Anna Quickie, Grants Manager. For the RSAT program, right now we actually getting ready to award them in the amount of 99. Let me get the correct amount. And that's from the 2018 RSAT.
So, and when does that, because these look like what, 3-year, is it usually 3-year grants you have, or 2? Or 4-year grants?
No, it's a 4-year.
It's a 4-year grant. So you have one that's at 2018. That's your oldest?
Yes.
Okay. And when is it set to expire? And what was the funding level?
This particular one,
I gotta wrap up. You need to get it. You need to get it. Okay, my time has already been called, but on the chair's time, kindly indicate your expiration on your 2018 grant for the RSAT and how much has been expended. First, I need to know the amount you received and how much has been expended to date, and also when is the expiration date of this grant. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, while I wait the response from the testifiers.
Okay, so the expiration.
Thank you, Senator Joseph. You have the expiration?
The expiration date on that grant is 9/30/2022.
9/30/2022.
Yes.
And the remaining balance?
$108,999.
Okay, thank you so much. Senator Saru, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon again. The balances are kind of high in the grants that we have, the grants that you have. And every time you open a consortium in a newspaper, you see a victim of domestic violence who in getting beat for a cat in a house and one hijacking the next. It's really sad to read. So there's an absolute need in the territory for support for women who have endured domestic violence. So for us, or for me, probably I'm a little worried about the balances and how we're utilizing. In a sense, we need to touch things and it has to be tangible. All we do is appropriate. You have grants, you manage them, and you're not seeing that dent in the community as to where it's needed. The same with gun violence prevention. We passed a whole legislation. I didn't vote for it because I thought it was more bureaucracy. And then today, you don't really have an answer for me, on gun violence. And that's no fault of your own. It was really a duplicate of, it was more bureaucracy. So I guess the question I want to first ask, I have sticky notes everywhere. Let's start on page 9 of your testimony. What's in the post added directly contradicts page 9. It says your office is operating with a fiscal staff of 1 strong, but we cannot continue to function in this manner. And then you go down to the latter part of your paragraph and it says each of our grant managers are responsible for 2 or more grants as a state administering agency. These positions are indeed critical to blah, blah, blah. And then you said that this current year, LEPC experienced challenges meeting some operational costs, which affected basic needs, such as inter-island travel, vehicle maintenance, repairs, and incidentals. So if you go to the post-audit report right now, you have a massive cut in every area. So I need to know, what is your ask? Now a post-audit send down, but what is the ask of this body so you could function at an optimal level? What is your desired ask in your personal services?
So, as to pretty much mirror what you cited on page 9, would be funding for staffing.
Mike.
I'm sorry. Is that better? Okay, so to piggyback, pretty much what is repeated on page 9, funding for staffing.
So
we
tell
are
me-
presently in need of program managers.
So hold on. I know what you're in need of. I'm asking for a number. So 2022, you had 443,834. This recommendation says 372,834. What do you need? What do you need? What's your number? I need a number. I need the same thing for your supply.
So the program monitors that
2
we
minutes.
identified would have been at the salary range of 48,000
a program manager?
for the program monitors.
Oh, monitor.
And of course, the associated fringe.
And that's
The financial specialist,
So hold on a second. So that's 2 positions, correct?
that's two program monitor positions.
Fringe at 46 or 48%.
And then an additional I'm sorry.
What's your fringe at? No, I ain't cutting you off, Director. 48 to
I think it's at
46. 46%. Okay. Go ahead. So this is an addition to what you have now.
And in addition, the financial specialist position.
What is that salary?
$50,683.65.
Is that in the budget? Or that's what you need?
We actually need 2 financial specialists. Right now, we have 1 vacant position.
Okay.
And we actually had 2, but 1 was removed last year because it was vacant.
So the 248K for the program monitoring and the financial specialist 2 at 50K, is that included in the budget now?
Just 1 financial
Just one.
specialist position.
Okay, good. Let's talk about your capital outlays. The reduction, is that Do you need your $30,000 back?
I think we do. Because we're still not able to purchase the vehicle.
And your vehicle will be for St. Croix?
St. Thomas.
St. Thomas. Oh, you don't have a vehicle in this district?
We have one vehicle that's being used by the director as her assigned vehicle
Okay.
And office needs.
and office needs.
You know, because I really get frustrated every time somebody come down here and tell me, oh, this is good. And then midway through the fiscal year, you're hearing, we don't have this and we don't have that. Blame the Senate when we're here saying, what are your needs? What do you need to survive? Now let's look at...
Pitch another vehicle on St. Croix.
Go ahead.
Time.
No, I said we could pitch another vehicle on St. Croix.
So you need one
The
on St. Thomas, one on St.
staff,
Croix.
When the staff
Anybody
goes
give
to
you a
St. Croix,
Tesla?
We need
No?
one.
A Tesla could go ready.
when the staff travels to St. Croix, we won't have to use the loaner vehicles that we've been using.
Okay, now let's head back here. The Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Grant, page 13 says law enforcement efforts to prevent and, of course, hiring additional personnel. Have you hired any officers on this grant? Can you, based on your testimony?
The monies can fund personnel. The applications that have come in have not supported that. It has been more of the training initiatives, law enforcement related equipment.
So
But
what's the balance?
It can support personnel if
So it
the
can
application, yes.
So over the years, it could support like a cohort of like maybe 10 additional officers on this grant.
I
I
don't
just
think,
giving you a random number.
maybe not that large of a cohort, Senator.
Okay. And then lastly, PSN continues Project Safe Neighborhood. And I saw the communities that you were looking at. What would be, how do you determine the neighborhoods? It has to be a neighborhood applying for a grant?
I'll allow Ms. Freeman to respond to you.
Jacqueline Freeman, PSN fiscal person. So what they do is based on the statistics that comes in through VIPD, where you have high crimes and so forth, that's how they determine.
So who are those neighborhoods? Can you list them?
So right now, the targeted area was Corwin Terrace. Bovoni is who they started out with initially. And they also have Oswell Harris Court and Pearson Garden.
On St. Croix?
And on St. Croix, I am not too sure as to who have been identified in the St. Croix district.
So does it have to be a public housing community or can it be a neighborhood? Because Castle Coakley is a problem.
Okay, thank you for
We have a lot of
providing that.
neighborhoods that are crime riddled and have a lot happening in them. I don't see them on that list.
Time.
Yeah, they have
sorry.
used the Savon. They did some work in the Savon district.
I don't know how well the data is, but Mr. Chair,
Oh,
also
okay.
this grant, the JAG grant, does support personnel for the VIPD as well, and I don't think you caught that, so I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you for the latitude, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Sarro. Does any of the grants address behavioral health or support behavioral health?
The JAG grant
The JAG.
can support behavioral health, but it must also be related to a criminal nexus. Not
It must be related to a
It
criminal.
must have a criminal nexus.
Okay, so Bureau of Corrections could utilize a grant like this.
Certainly, they have been recipients of the funds.
Have they applied for any of the funds recently?
We noted that they have 2 applications that are pending to that agency, sir.
Okay. You have only one position under your federal funds, but your FY22 budget included 184,000. You had more positions, page 3 of 9.
Is that in your post audit you're referencing?
Yes.
We're not sure how that number was derived.
It came to us from the Office of Management and Budget. We ain't pulled that one out of the sky.
We only have one federal funded position, Senator.
Okay, so let me go to the 23 recommendation. Are you then saying that your 23 recommendation on the federal funds is 50,000 for personnel?
Yes, it should be 50,000.
Okay, but no matter what your grant, the grants that you're going to receive is 4,328,000 for fiscal year 23. Is that number right?
I don't think it is, Senator. I believe that fiscal 2023 number may be bearing the CSF award, which may not necessarily be an award that we may be seeing at that level if it does repeat itself.
Okay.
So it should definitely be less than that.
Okay, the year before they had 5,452,826. That number is right for this fiscal year?
No. That's including the CSF.
It more than likely it included that CSF award, sir.
Okay. Senator Carrion, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to the team, LEPC, and to you, Director Campbell. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Thank you for asking, and good afternoon to you.
Good. I'm glad you're well. I think I share the same sentiments of my colleagues. We have a budget here before us where we are seeing a decrease from what was allotted to you last year. But nevertheless, we hear in your testimony the challenges that you have, and your challenges clearly have to do with funding and staffing, which again goes to funding. So it's a bit puzzling, I guess, to receive your testimony and see that there is a decrease in what is being presented for FY23. What do you have to say with regard to that, Director?
We've noted the decrease as well, Senator, and we certainly would love to see that number a lot higher to be able to make sure that we have the right amount of staffing to ensure that the work that we need to do gets done in the manner that it should be. The staff that's here is doing a tremendous job. I'm not going to deny that, but it is taxing. We do need to have additional support within the office.
Are you projecting that the federal assistance through the grants that you receive will increase in FY23?
I'm not projecting a giant increase because these are formula grants and they're based on the population size. And you may be aware that our unofficial census, 2020 census, does have us at a much smaller population size than before. So it may stand to reason that our numbers might actually be less when we are awarded. We normally will utilize the base amount that our program offices indicate, and some of them are around $600,000. It could be less, it could be slightly more.
Agreed. So was this budget then prepared in absence of your input from your office?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that question, sir.
Was this budget prepared in absence of input from your office?
The budget, which budget you're referring to, what you're seeing in your post-audit?
Yes, the recommendation that came down, I guess, from OMB, which has a decrease.
We responded to the budget process like every other agency, Senator.
Gotcha. So I know my colleague that spoke, my colleague from St. Thomas spoke before I did, and it was one of the questions that I have here. What's your ask exactly? What quantitative, what number figure for you to operate at a standard level? In the perfect scenario, what do you need? What do you need from us?
So in addition to what I've repeated prior, dollar amount wise, I can certainly present that. Staffing positions, I can tell you. We need monitors. We need an additional fiscal person. We are tasked with the management of federal dollars, and we certainly want to make sure that we are doing that in a very prudent manner and adhering. We have managed to raise ourselves out of being under an audit for a few years, and we've been doing really well, and we need to be able to maintain that. We want to maintain that Having the additional staff and support will certainly ensure that. And it will provide some much needed relief to my staff that's been really, really pressed.
Well, there's no doubt we want you to be successful. And in order to do so, you clearly enumerated what you need. And in your testimony, you do say a significant boost to the FY 2023 budget would allow LAPC to maintain our grant managers and secure 3 much-needed positions and to carry out your operations. So it's clear that you are facing some challenges and you need staff and funding in order to be successful and not continue to have those challenges that you've been faced, that you've been managing. So we are, that's the reason why you're here, and this committee is open to hear what your recommendation is, but we need that clear information. So please do submit that through the chair so that in markup we could make those determinations.
I will certainly do that, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you. Any funding you have provided for the Office of Gun Violence?
I'm sorry, say that, Senator.
Have you provided any grant, any funding to the Office of Gun Violence?
No, Senator.
Is there any grant that they can apply to receive some funding?
We do have the JAG assistance grant, as well as the Victims of Crime grant.
Has there been any conversations from that office, its director, with you to regards to what grants might be available for the Office of Gun Violence to apply to?
We've had those conversations, initial conversations, Senator. Yeah.
But nothing has begun yet regards to the application process.
We are hopeful that we'll be seeing something, but we have had those initial conversations and the information has been shared.
So your office have been providing that support?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm glad to hear that. You presented in your appendix the list of grants that are active, the award listing. Are these like actual numbers?
Time.
Are you you're referring to our appendix, Senator?
Yeah, because in your appendix, and looking at what's been presented in the post-audit report, it's hard for us to determine what balances do you have for each one of these grants. So I don't know if there's anywhere in your testimony or in the post-audit where it clearly it lists the grants and what actuals, what balances do you have for each one?
So we don't have that in the testimony, Senator. We can certainly provide it to you. These are grants that are awarded by different fiscal years, so we'll definitely be providing that information based by the fiscal years as opposed to a cumulative amount.
Yeah, can you please submit that through the chair? But even though they're, like you said, they're awarded a different fiscal year, but nevertheless, they roll over, correct? They're still current because they have expiration dates. Some of them are 3 years or 4 years, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So as you continue to receive them every year, the amount continues to accumulate.
No, the amount that you receive each year does not accumulate. What you receive in 2017, that was what was received for fiscal year 2017. When we apply for the following year, that gets awarded a different amount.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could provide to us.
Your time has been called, Senator. I've just been giving you some. I'm timing now, so I call it at 5 minutes, and it's now 7. But you could go ahead and conclude.
No problem, no problem. So if you could provide that to us. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the leniency. And Director, if you could provide that to us so that we could know in each federal grant that you receive, what do you have available? Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Senator Campbell. And colleagues, as we are moving on, I will be saying time because my staff just had to fly back to St. Croix, so work with me. But Ms. Campbell, I think what he's trying to know is, we know that it's separate amount for each award year, but he just wants to know the cumulative amount that is left back for that particular category. You could give us them both. You could give us what is left back by year, and then you could give us the cumulative amount. And I think what the senators are driving at is that we heard that the 2017 JAG grant, that is the one that they denied an extension, correct? But that's the one did you request? You requested an extension.
We requested an extension was requested. They have not responded to that as yet.
And that is both for the 2017 and the 2018.
And the 2018, those are both due to expire in September.
And in those amount, we had like 100,000 plus in each. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why the recommendation was, since we funded the Office of Gun Violence, and they could put some money up, that they should immediately apply for those grants so that those monies don't go back in the event that we are denied the extension. Because I think we funded them, 500,000 colleagues? So they have some money there that they could use as seed money to start some programs and then seek the reimbursement rather than those monies going back, which would then increase the budget for the Office of Gun Violence. So if you could have that particular discussion, I think that's where they're trying to go.
Duly noted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Point of inquiry, Senator Joseph Schott.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Are all of these grants reimbursable?
Yes, they are, Senator.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That was nice and short. Senator Gittins, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to all. Let me first ask, and congratulations to you on your appointment. Just last week, I found myself asking, but who's heading up LEPC now? So glad to know we have someone there. What's the process for the community groups to apply for funding via your agency?
So for the most part, all of the potential programs need to submit an award. An application. They may vary slightly by programs, but the essence is the same. Nonprofit programs must submit certain information relative to their status. They must be able to demonstrate that they have a financially sound system to be able to manage these federal dollars. And they must also be able to speak to the scope of the program that they're applying to. All applicants are...
Any of these things done
all
through
applicants are informed that it's a reimbursable process. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Any of these are done through a PSA, public service announcements?
Definitely. We've employed the use of the media. We've also, for our current and active subgrantees, we usually also send them almost like a courtesy notice that we'll be having funding available. And I'm not sure if you were on when we shared that we actually just launched our website. So we will definitely be able to reach more through our website in terms of the funding opportunities that are available.
Oh, thank you. Because I was just about to ask that we step up the PSAs. Not everyone goes to the internet to do research, but some do listen to the radio and whatnot, so we could increase those. Now, I see here you spoke about the statutory responsibility of your agency, which is providing policy advice and guidance to the governor, and established to be the state planning agency for the criminal justice system in the territory. You also stated that the responsibility encompasses assisting with the development of policies, crime prevention and violence reduction plans, addressing juvenile delinquency and victims of crime programs, etc. So I wanted to ask you, have you spoken to any of our law enforcement agencies regarding a deployment plan, strategy, or policy, whatever they want to call it? But as you know, there's a shortage nationwide. However, as I review some of the operation stats of various agencies to include the Virgin Islands Police Department, and looking at the manpower, I don't see where there's any policies or plans being put in place regarding deployment. Have you had any conversations with them on a deployment strategy, plan, or policy, whatever you want to call it?
Not to date, Senator. Not referencing a deployment policy, no.
Thank you. Now, let me go straight to this juvenile justice and delinquency prevention. Now, you said this grant requires the establishment of a juvenile justice state advisory group board whose primary function is to review the state of the juvenile justice system and advise the governor and the legislature and the key stakeholders with recommendations. Is this group or board active?
It most definitely is, Senator. We have 17 members on that board that have engaged in continuous meetings, and they are definitely forging their way to address the requirements underneath that particular grant program. And I could allow some further information if you need from Ms. Freeman.
Not at this time. And you also stated that the LEPC is also tasked with monitoring jails, detention centers, or detention facilities and other facilities to ensure compliance with the 4 core requirements of the JJDP Act. Now, this requires that status offenders are not held in secure detention or confinement. Are you conducting inspections at the Youth Rehabilitation Center on St. Croix, where we have non-criminal offenders their house with those that are charged with crimes?
We, as we stated, we are tasked with that responsibility, and so the monitoring does take place, but I'll allow Ms. Freeman to expand on that for you.
Jacqueline Freeman, Compliance Monitor. Yes, we are working aggressively with Human Services in reference to those areas that you noted. We continue to address the compliance issues that they are having, and a plan have been put into place. We have also just identified training for the individuals that are staff there to make sure that some of these compliance issues are being met.
Thank you for that. Hopefully in the appropriate committee of jurisdiction, we'll be able to dive into this discussion. And lastly, what about St. Thomas? There's nowhere when a juvenile offender is picked up or detained for a crime, what are they doing with those juvenile offenders right now?
Senator, we, in instances where those juveniles will need to go over to St. Croix, an extension can be granted for an extended period of time. However, at this time, Human Services is also looking to identify areas where those juveniles can be housed.
Thank you, and I think time was called, so thank you, Mr. Chair, for the latitude.
Thank you, Senator. There are no group homes on St. Thomas, right?
There are no group homes in St. Thomas, Senator. However, there are areas that can be, that we're looking at to utilize in the near future.
Okay. Senator James, you recognize.
Good afternoon to the people of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Good afternoon, testifiers. I see here in FY 2022, you had appropriated funds and non-appropriated funds when it comes to capital outlays. And based on the FY 2022 recommendations, you have zero. So I'm assuming that you expended the $30,000 and $123,571. If you can just tell this committee what you were able to utilize those funds as far as capital outlays.
Could you tell us what page you're referencing, Senator, please? Senator, please.
In the post-audit report, page 3 of 9. You have capital outlays for appropriated funds and capital outlays for non-appropriated funds. In the FY 2023 recommendations, you have 0 for both of those categories. But I saw in FY 2022, you had appropriated funds. I just want you to place on the record what you were able to do with those funds as far as capital outlays.
The appropriated funds of $30,000 was to purchase a vehicle that we're still not able to purchase. As yet, we're still working on getting the funding for that.
And the other category, which is non-appropriated funds, $123,571.
I am not sure what that is for.
Okay, so
we only had
when you
30,000 appropriated in fiscal year 2022.
Okay, so it's in the post. So at a later time, I guess you can let us know what that is about. And as far as your different grants, I see you have about $4.3 million in federal grants. And I know our commissioner that we have right now, Commissioner Ray Martinez, is now the commissioner for VIPD. Ever since you came on board, have you met with the commissioner regarding a transition and some of the things that were working for him and how you can improve on it when it comes to our federal grants?
We've had discussions, Senator, but it was not necessarily a formal meeting. And we've definitely, I've been with the agency prior, so I have some knowledge of some of the items that we were working on before as well.
Okay, understood. And thank you for placing that on the record. And when it comes to VI Project Safe Neighborhood, I find that to be very low. And I know that is based on what you do receive. That's $53,857. What are you doing with those funds? And if you answered that before, I apologize, I was not on the floor.
Jacqueline Freeman, Project Safe Neighborhoods. Right now, Project Safe Neighborhoods, through the U.S. Attorney's Office, will be utilizing those funds to go directly into the communities. They have already started working on some of the various initiatives, in addition to working with VIPD in reference to gun violence.
Without saying much information, because I know you want to control the narrative, what you said, initiatives, that is very vague and broad. Can you just elaborate? Give us an idea of what initiatives?
So for right now, they are working on a sip and paint initiative where they'll be working within the various housing communities, where they'll be bringing out the residents to draw or bring awareness through painting as to where they're at. They will be collaborating with folks like victim advocates to come out and speak with them. It's a project that is new, but it's something that they feel will enhance the communication between VIPD, law enforcement, and the communities. They also were responsible for running a summer program. They collaborate with a lot of the various agencies, grassroots organizations out there to enhance their initiatives.
I will be reaching out to you at a later time because I do have a lot of ideas. When it comes to the VI Project Safe Neighborhood, I know the Virgin Islands Housing Authority, they have a lot of recreational centers that are not utilized. And those are areas where we need to start as far as getting into our neighborhoods. And I think, I'm not sure if my time was called, but I will keep going until the chair stops me.
15 seconds.
As far as I see you don't have any outstanding vendor payments. That is always a good thing. I know when you submitted this information to post audit, it was based on what was the current situation at the time. But do you have outstanding vendor payments ever since this post audit report information was received to us?
Yes, just the rent for July and August, because we were going through the renewal process for the lease.
Okay, I don't want to abuse my time, and I know my colleague have to get back to St. Croix. But we have a lot of things that we can do. I will not place that on the record. I always would warn my colleagues to never mention the strategy when it comes to crime, combating crime on the Senate floor. I think that should be done in person. So at a later time, I plan to meet with you. I have some ideas. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you so much, Senator James. In reference to the $30,000, if you don't spend that money by September 30th, it's gone. Back to the general fund. So you're saying that the vendor refused to decrease the price?
He reduced it by $980. I asked again, and he refused to go any further.
What was the original price?
$31,980.
Can you look for a next vendor or look to see if there were any vehicles that you could get for $30,000 or less? What were you looking for?
It's an Equinox, a 2022. I
And
think it
ain't got another vehicle you could get for $30,000 and use the money? Okay, it doesn't make sense for the money to go back. And there are cars that are under $30,000. It might not be an Equinox, but you could get a very decent car for $30,000 or less, rather than letting the money go back and then you have $0 in that category for next fiscal year.
Well, it's definitely a point of consideration. So thank you, Senator. Definitely.
Okay, don't let it be a point of consideration. Spend it. We gave it so you could have a vehicle. So you might not get an Equinox, but you'll have a car, a sedan, or something that you could drive. So you have to obligate the money by September 30th because it's gone after that. And your small entity budget has been reduced by $94,000. We are going to reinstate the personnel because you've already hired those individuals. So we're going to reinstate the personnel and the fringe. But I would suggest that you try and get a car that is $30,000 or less so you could spend those monies, and you'll have to act on that pretty quickly so they can go through the process.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Whitaker, as a point of inquiry, Senator Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My point of inquiry was relative to same matter that Mr. Chairman brought up with the vehicle. Can you not utilize some of your grant fund as to leverage any of that to purchase?
No.
Okay, that's a short answer, right? And a long answer. Senator
The
Whitaker.
long answer, Senator.
No. Senator Whitaker, you are recognized.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon to central staff, listening and viewing audience, and a special good afternoon to our testifiers. I first off want to say to you, Director Campbell, and your team, because of course I've already engaged LEPC well before this hearing, as well as the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. So for me, I just wanted to kind of zone in on a particular area, particularly as it pertains to juvenile justice. I want to also thank Ms. Freeman and all the others who I've directly engaged with, who's on the panel of the leadership team. I want to really zone in on a really important fact. So are you familiar, as you've come on board, and also congratulate you for your assuming that position. So we're in Title 3, Section 261, subsection E, particularly subsection E1. And I'm highlighting this section because one of the most important things as we go through the budget process and address issues is the planning process. Do you in fact currently have an actual criminal justice plan that is supposed to be done on behalf of the governor in collaboration with your office? Do we have an actual criminal justice plan, an old plan to work with, or one that you are working with? And what would be the costs, if anything, you've already done cost calculations for that cost?
So to respond to you, Senator, we have worked on, we began to work on a plan. And what we've also done is done plans, particularly under each of our grant programs that require the plan. So we are working to merge so that we speak to the collaborative efforts under each of the grants, also as it supports any type of policy advisement to the governor. So we are actually working on a plan. In addition to that, the state advisory group also works towards that, and they're also engaging in that now that we have a full complement of a SAC board. That would definitely speak more so to the juvenile justice aspects within the territory.
And what is the timeline? And would you be providing a timeline to this committee, to the Committee on Finance, and to the legislature? What would be the estimated timeline for us to receive this plan or draft plan?
I'm sorry, the timeline for us definitely would not be until we're aiming for the upcoming fiscal year, within the upcoming fiscal year, to be able to initiate a draft of that plan. We are waiting first to get approval of the plans that we've already submitted for a program, so we won't be able to speak until we've received approval of those plans.
And are you also familiar with Title 3, Section 67, which requires that the Finance Committee, this current committee, along with the governor, in order for you to be approved for any federal programs, that in fact there has to be a meeting of the minds with respect to these federal grants? Are we moving pursuant to the law?
I do believe we are, Senator.
Okay. And I ask these questions because a lot of times what I feel that if more and more of the departments and agencies move forward with what our statutes outlines, we as a legislature also in collaboration, because even now, even throughout this hearing process and throughout the budget process, I really would like us to get more into some work sessions. These hearings are important and we have to have these hearings, but I would like for us to get into some work sessions. So to engage with you and engage with the leadership team. Previously, the Office of Gun Violence, been circling folks up because there's a lot of silos and folks are working hard, but there are a lot of silos. The other item I want to bring out is the actual model for juvenile justice. Do you or anybody in your leadership team have any experience with the youth court system? That is a bill that I have crafted and I'm moving forward with for us to actually have a youth court system of the Virgin Islands. Are anybody in the team familiar with it in the context of juvenile justice prevention of crime?
No, Senator.
One of the things I want to suggest that we do as we work together, look at some of the various models for juvenile justice and prevention. A lot of the issues with YRC is that our children are getting labeled really too early. Many of them, YRC is obviously not the solution. It's a part of the ecosystem we have right now. But I've spoken to, engaged your team over that, a former director. I've also engaged Commissioner Martinez and others, and certainly our judges. We really need to develop that system. We have to work at the prevention mechanisms. It's the truancy, it's the lower level offenses, and we have to stop stigmatizing our youth too young. And the youth court model actually involves not moving away from stigmatizing our youth so that they have a better future and pathway. I'm committed to that, and I will be reaching out and circling back actually to LEPC and me and my staff, and we'll be moving forward. And with my colleagues' support, we can have an actual true juvenile justice model. So I thank you for your testimony, but I will be following up, and I really do encourage that we move into some work sessions if we're going to really address crime prevention. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Senator Whitaker, for your testimony. So, Ms. Camp, for your questions. Colleagues, I'm going to conclude just now. Anyone has any more questions? You're a Go ahead, Senator Joseph, point of inquiry.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to know, how long does it take a vendor, well, not your vendor, your sub-grantee to receive their monies once they submit their invoice to LEPC? What's your turnaround time?
I would say 10 days, depending on whether we need more information from them.
That's good.
Go ahead and put it on the record. You said respond what you said.
That's a very good rate. Usually it's 30 days before they get the check in hand. In some instances that I am aware of, but you're representing that 10 days once they submit their information, their invoices, you would pay them within 10 days. That's very good.
Yes.
So that's very encouraging for nonprofits to know that
Thank
once
you.
they send out, they spend the money, they'll get it back quickly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Senator Saro, point of information.
Thank you.
Senator Saro's mic.
Thank
got
you.
it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just a point of information. I'm a little bothered by the car discussion because property procurement sat before this body a few days ago with this massive car fleet. We had Acuras from the Tachikara settlement. Then we have a whole slew of Teslas that came in, and I cannot fathom why a small agency like LEPC cannot be given a car through property and procurement. It is really baffling to me. Have you asked property and procurement for a vehicle?
We have asked in the past when we initially, of course, came into the office and only had one vehicle. Of recent, no, Senator.
Please ask. They have a slew of vehicles. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Saro. And I think they're getting ready to action 250 vehicles within the next couple of weeks, vehicles that they have taken offline. Some might be in pretty decent condition. And perhaps we could get one for St. Thomas and one for St. Croix until we're able to provide sufficient funding for you to be able to really run your office. You can speak to Commissioner Thomas on that. Senator Carrion, you have any questions?
I'm good.
Senator Carrion, Mike? Okay.
If you have no.
Okay, none. Senator Gittins, you're good? Okay. Colleagues, we have exhausted all of our questions. I'm going to give the director an opportunity to put a closing statement on the record. Director, you may put a short closing statement on the record.
Thank you. But in all honesty, I want to thank you for this opportunity to have my staff and myself before you to present our budget. And again, I want to definitely be able to thank my staff. As I stated before, we are small, and I sometimes have to kind of send little texts to folks that I'm get off, stop working beyond 5 o'clock. So we are a very dedicated team. We definitely want to see the best for this community, and we just look forward to the support that we're going to get from the legislature. Thanks again. Good afternoon, all.
And thank you so much for your testimony today, and thank those individuals who supported you in answering the questions. I forgot to put one thing on the record, and Senator Blyden mentioned it. A lot of the nonprofits that this body has allocated monies to are not receiving their monies. So that limits their ability to utilize those money up front and then ask for reimbursement. Because a lot of the community organizations that are dealing with these type of activities, domestic violence, crime reduction, etc., this is now August, and they still have not received their funding, to include a number of other nonprofits across the territory. Based on the information that we're getting, we do know that there are more than sufficient funds to be able to fund all the nonprofits that were included in the budget. And you can't, on your own, refuse to fund what the legislature has passed. So you can't just say, I'm not going to fund Clean Sweep. Frederick said $40,000. Victims United, how much did we give them? $50,000. You can't just say, I'm not funding them, and then you come back to the legislature and you say, we have a surplus and we're going to reappropriate the money to do something else. You got to fund everything in the budget, and then whatever is left over, then we can have a supplemental. So I just want to put that on the record. I also want to put on the record, there was a recent veto of $15 million to pay garbage haulers and those companies that deal with sewage, claiming that the monies were coming from the septage fund. It was not coming from the septage funds. It was an increase in Waste Management Authority 2022 budget to pay garbage haulers that have been owed monies for 5 years. It was vetoed. But there are other legislation coming down in the same manner that was written to pay other stuff. So, colleagues, I'm going to be encouraging and asking you to join me in overriding that particular veto. These are monies that have been owed for an extended period of time, and also to join the Finance Committee in making sure that all those nonprofits that have submitted all the requisite paperwork have done everything the right way, that they be funded before September 30th. The nonprofits take care of areas that the government does not on a regular basis. So we got to make sure that we make them whole. Because the end result is that we send back millions of dollars. And now we really can't blame LEPC, and we can't blame the nonprofit, because the government that allocated the money, the legislature, the administration refused to release those monies. And I'm saying refuse because some of them are old, didn't receive any monies last year, and now the same year, the next fiscal year is the same story again, and some we are just literally begging to fund. The Committee of Finance is hereby adjourned.